sure my phone's down.
Harry. Cloud chaser.
I'm a cloud chaser.
Oh, you're a cloud chaser. You're definitely a cloud chaser.
No, I'm just kidding.
Always chasing cloud. This guy.
There's nothing left anymore to chase. Just kidding. We're chasing ice.
So, I got 4 cubes right here. Working. Shit's cold. It works. Not for long. Down the hatch.
It's cool.
So, thankfully, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw that, you know, climate defender Joe Biden, he's announced that that America has never intervened in, you know, the affairs of other countries, which is beautiful. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
right. I forgot.
Dude, I saw that.
You don't get more fair than that, you know? I mean, that's the way it should be, right? Like, don't fuck around. Don't fuck with other people. That's shitty. That's a shitty thing to do. And of course, America is known because we are
Resources we could use.
Oh yeah, 100%. They always raid resources. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the government. Sometimes it's like private businessmen, like Elon Musk causing a coup in Bolivia for uranium.
Oh yeah, I mean John Perkins.
Lithium. Yeah, lithium. Sorry,
you know,
That's okay.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and he denies extinction. It's like, dude, come on, how can you be that high level of knowing, you know, knowing what's going on, knowing that we're decimating the planet, and we always have been. It didn't start last Tuesday. Yeah, sorry everybody. Drunken Joey hit the Facebook live instead of the YouTube live, so we weren't even on the channel, and now my mind is blown. And you know, Biden is gonna. I think he's gonna. He's a climate superhero. I think, right? He's gonna.
I'm a defender.
I want to shoot myself for saying that. I should never breathe another breath after saying something so.
Well, you gotta factor in the Green New Deal.
Oh right, that's another savior.
honestly,
it's funny you mentioned the Green New Deal, Justin, because I'm totally rethinking the solar panels on the roof, because even though that'll make us a fucking target, but we might get to see more shit, and we won't have to go to work every day to do it. The stress of like knowing that your house is your house. If you have solar panels and power, when the wet bulb temperatures at your AC works, you're going to be quite popular with the locals, right?
Yeah, and Joey, can you let's make sure we go over all of the terms really fast when we talk about stuff, not just for Hattie, but for anybody that's watching. That, you know,
what are you talking about? Like Green New Deal?
So wet bulb temperature is when humidity gets too hot with heat added in for your body to regulate sweat.
Okay.
So like it's 100% humidity, it's 98 degrees outside.
Right.
You're sweating, but your organs stop sweating and then they give out, fail.
Right.
So that's already happening to people along the equator and different tropical countries.
Okay.
What we're concerned about is when all this shit happens, like the ice melts, et cetera,
Of course.
more people are going to succumb to wet bulb death.
Right.
So, you know, that's kind of a joke we have. It's like, you know, I'd rather wet bulb take me out than a marauding horde. So maybe it'll be better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what we're looking at as 20 and 30-year-old people. You know?
And imagine I forget, I think somebody, maybe it was Harry, I forget who said it like this, but it was a brilliant way to put it. It was like, imagine when, maybe it was Joe Black. Imagine when I think it was Joe Black. Imagine when you get into a sauna and it gets too hot, you can get out.
Yep.
Wet bulb is the opposite of that, because that's your environment. And like Dustin was saying, even sweating or being surrounded by water, because the water even is so hot, doesn't cool you off. And that's wet bulb death. And that can occur from, you know, at like 100 degree or 100% humidity. I think it's around 95, 98.
95.
Somewhere in there is where it
you don't
starts.
You don't need crazy record temperature. You need 99 degrees and full humidity.
Right.
102 degrees and maybe 80% or 75% humidity.
Right.
The higher the degree goes, the less percentage humidity you need for it to kill you. You can die with 35% humidity if the temperatures are more than 10 or
Right,
something
right,
crazy.
right.
And that's what we're looking
So they're
at right
kind of
now.
inversely proportional in terms of like, it doesn't necessarily have to like be high temperature and high humidity. Like if it's high temperature and low humidity, you can still
If
get
the temperature's high enough.
Yeah, you can still have
high.
level.
You can still high, yeah.
Right. Thanks for the clarification.
That's a good point, Justin.
We're here for.
Thank you. So it's awesome. It's really awesome to have you with us because, and sorry, I forgot we didn't actually introduce you because this is the this is the new live stream that I fucked up earlier. So I'm sorry. Let's bring you back. I'm totally forgot to do that. I'm shitty.
So my name's Hattie Salem. I'm from South Jersey, Carneys Point. Graduated from Rutgers with an economics degree. Worked in the food industry for a little bit, and met Justin at Cracker Barrel when I worked in the food industry after college.
Great job.
We've been friends. Cracker Barrel, yeah.
I did the Ruby Tuesdays busboy thing. I'm right. Hey man, we dug the same ditches, brother.
Right, exactly. And we've been friends for a bunch of years, and then I joined politics. I worked for the Democrats. I was a legislative aide and then a policy analyst, basically writing laws. And I basically saw the inside, and I saw how it was corrupt, and basically they wanted to enrich themselves and enrich their donors, and basically lobbyists controlled everything. They would write the legislation and give it to the legislators, and basically I was booted because I tried to start a union at my job, and I was just trying to pass and write legislation to help disenfranchised and poor people, and just do good legislation. Also legislation in regards to the environment. And my legislator was chair of natural resources, but would try and pass things such as gasification, even though she's a Democrat. So, and gasification is basically taking plastic material and making it into gas, and the process of doing that is very harmful to the environment. And she's supposed to be a Democrat. So basically, Democrats and Republicans are essentially the same. And I was booted for just trying to help people, and that's me. And thanks for letting me introduce myself, Joey. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here, man. And if you're friends with Justin and what you just said, you're part of us, man. You are going to be, even if you don't know, like Justin was explaining wet bulb, and it's a good thing to describe these terms, because maybe there are listeners that that don't know some of these terms. So that's a really good point. But if you already know what you know, you're going to be more open to the information and understanding than most people, because you're already on the path of realizing that things are not only really wrong, but they're so backwards, and they've been so backwards for our entire lifetimes and beyond too, right? I mean, we weren't alive during Vietnam. I just missed Vietnam as far as being alive for it. Maybe I was there for a little bit at the end, but I was too young to remember. But anytime there's any kind of a war with people, there's too many people. It's time to stop. And we never did that. We just we just kept on. Holy shit. And I spent like 10 years volunteering in reptile conservation. And I just saw that they were all pro-war. They were all, just bullshit. It was all a lie. It was all about money. Collect the money, raise the money. And yeah, you might save some fucking salamanders, and that's cool. You're not a bad person for saving salamanders, but you are a bad person, I think, if you ignore you being pro-country, pro-war, pro-military, all that patriotic shit. That's what killed. Like the U.S. military is the number one polluter, and destroyer of the planet. And everybody wants to blame China and India and all that. And
Just catching up to us now.
they're not good. No, I love how Bill Hicks said, no, every government are liars and murderers. So there is no good country, and maybe within some of the population, I think we have good people like us who are empathetic to what's happening and how just fucked not only ourselves have been for our entire lives, but you guys too. You guys are younger. You've been way more fucked than I've been, and that's fucked, and that bothers me, especially people who are smart, people who are intelligent and smart, and so then you're even smarter than I ever was in my younger years, but things were so much better that it was still kind of like a little more okay. But at your age, being this intelligent, this smart, like you guys are, it's not okay, because society has gotten dumber and you guys have gotten more intelligent through seeing the.
No, wasn't I just talking about that yesterday? It's really tough to be a smart person in a dumb world.
It is.
About that yesterday, just because I'm just for example, when I'm driving and I'm just watching people driving, things that they do when they're driving, and I'm just why do you even do that? Doesn't make sense, logically. When it comes to everything in life for me and politics and just everything, it just all comes down to logical reasoning. And if there's no logic behind it, then I'm not with it. And then I question why people are doing what they're doing. It's did you use your brain today, or did you forget that you had one? But I don't know.
I used to question how I'd see people do the dumbest thing and go, how the fuck do you even know how to breathe? If you're that dumb, if you're that fucking dumb, how do you even if I really think that if I was that dumb, and I feel that way a lot of times, but I still I've never forgotten to breathe. Well, actually, no, I am really dumb now because I forget to breathe on my sleep.
Nah, I don't think.
I put myself down. That's for sure.
I think honestly, though, a lot of it has to do with technology. So technology has basically dumbed down the masses, and then on top of that, access to social media and access to TV and the internet. People's capacity for information is just probably at an all-time low, because they're always busy just on their phones, swiping left, swiping right,
absorbing commercials.
Yeah,
everything that's thrown at us through advertising, and there's so much more. Joey, you hinted at the point, and I appreciate you and everybody watching this now and in the future so much for calling out reality, for the fact that things may have been hard for our parents and our grandparents in terms of work, economy, but they're always going to be exponentially difficult for the next generation because of the inflation, the wage inequality, the cost of living. I mean, you have to think about how much, when our parents and our grandparents were younger, they had to go to the library and look things up and go to dictionaries. We absorb so much information per second, more than any generation. And yet we're expected, James Hansen said, we're expected to fix all this bullshit. It's our fault. We weren't born into this reality. And
99% of the
you call it out for what it is,
of the information that you guys get, and not you personally, but as a population, is wrong. It's all a lie. And so it takes an intelligent person to decipher what's true and false, and what's right and wrong. And that's why we live in a society that war is peace. And and we're gonna technology, like you were saying, technology is gonna, it's been bad, but we're gonna use that technology and figure a way out. And that's insane. It's not, you can throw all the money and technology at nature you can, guy, nature bites last, right? It's very simple. It's not that complicated, but it is for other people. For normies, they just can't can't fathom. And take a shot, Biden. To Joe,
Yeah.
Uncle Joe,
Salute, salute, salute.
climate hero.
I figured I better not just be stoned and scared. I better be drunk, stoned, and scared. That's what the show is,
So
right?
It
basically,
helps. It helps, man.
so basically, what we're all talking about comes down to back in the 70s. So, like after World War II, there was a lot of equality and equity. Like, prosperity was shared amongst the masses. And then in 1970, basically, the baby boomers, sorry, boomers, but I mean, some of your fellow boomers.
Some of them are cool.
So some of them essentially came into power. And what happens with power is if anybody ever gets too much power, then they're going to use the power unwisely. I mean, it's talked about in The Prince by Machiavelli, where he talks about, a prince will, gain so much power that eventually they'll be corrupt and evil with that power. So basically what happened was they started to take over in politics, and neoliberalism and neoconism started to basically take over, the realm. And basically what came about with that is that the main point and the main objective was money and money interests, and making sure that businesses prosper, the Amazons of the world prosper without regulation, in regards to the environment, in regards to, pay for their workers. So essentially they get off scot-free with this laissez-faire, approach where basically, they can just do whatever they want. And since the 70s, essentially that's been politics. And they've divided the masses with identity politics, essentially creating division amongst Republicans and Democrats through identity politics while still voting for the same stuff. Like if we're talking about economics, for example, Reaganomics was, everybody talks about Reaganomics and how, that created inequality and, it created wealth gaps and disparities. But what they don't talk about is that the Democrats were in control of the House his whole term and were in control of the Senate until his last 2 years. So so basically it was both sides agreeing to not let the masses ask for too much. In terms of the environment, in terms of, in terms of wages, in terms of, basically everything in aspect of daily life. So, I don't know. It's tough to, but I don't know what the solution is. But maybe you know what the solution is, Joey.
Yeah, Joey.
That's the shitty part. That's where we all just fucking cry and
throw our hands up like inflatable tube man. No, we actually
inflatable.
I mean, I don't like speaking too much for other people, but we have this community that, whether you know or not, you're now a part of.
Yeah.
For doing this, is pretty centered around the idea of hospice. The same way you take care, and Guy McPherson and Pauline mentioned this, Kevin Esther mentions it. The same way you take care of a sick loved one who has cancer, who's dying, we view the earth as this planet in hospice that we're trying to just take care of the animals and the plants until they pass away.
Right.
Unfortunately, we were born at the time in history where it's passing away around us right now. Right. Every day we're waking up and things are crazier. Right. So it's just a matter of, not going crazy like that and having the rest of my hair go gray that's not gray yet. And like stress, and just kind of come together on a community over what we do agree upon. Because we don't agree on the nitpicking details. We don't agree about an ice-free Arctic this year. I personally think there will be an ice-free Arctic this year. I'm saying it now. I've said it before, because the thickness is disappearing. When that happens, the methane, which is trapped in the permafrost, both under the sea and on the land, is both going to be emitted. And Joey, I didn't even get into any. I don't even know what time it is. How long we've been doing this?
30
I
minutes.
didn't
or
get
so.
into any climate or economic news because we've just been like
We've been vibing.
we've been throwing toothpicks into the hors d'oeuvres of what's pressing right now in current events, right? So I didn't even get to tell you on a couple of the news things. I have 2 news articles about methane, and they have nothing to do with the Arctic.
Oh fuck.
The first methane article, there's a methane leak in a South African coal mining region. Like a number of coal mines, there's like this regional methane spike. And there was also a methane leak in a Russian pipeline. So like, not only are we seeing methane come out of the ground more than in human history, dumbass humans are continuing to make environmental industrial errors and pump more methane into the sky faster. Like when have you ever caught 2 different articles on the news about a methane leak in 2 different continents in 1 week? That's like a once a year bad thing.
That's never. That's a once in a 450 billion.
I'll throw you another really fun article. Do you know where Corsica is? It's an island that's a French territory.
Yeah.
So ships off of Corsica. So they're getting they're getting croissant. They're getting charged more money for the oil they have. So they're dumping the oil before they get to port, so they don't have to pay for it. There's an article about ships dumping oil into the river, into the ocean, so they don't have to pay more shipping money. I have such a long list of shit. I hope people are watching this episode because like
that's how like Greenpeace and any kind of thing that even something that you think is a good organization, even they are so corrupt now because of money and collapse and how everything is about money. And you're absolutely right, Justin, where it's just we've always seen that with it's cheaper to pay the fines than to fix the problem. So they just keep polluting and make more money. And yeah, they get fined, but they make more money than the fines deter them to keep polluting. So it's amazing that we're all not just fucking. I mean, we all basically are swimming in oil. It's just in the air, in the CO2 and the carbon, because there's so much carbon in the atmosphere.
Well,
Dude,
one of Guy's recent feedback loop videos that he does, and I mean, everybody should know at this point to go to GuyMcPherson.com and to go to Nature Bats Last on YouTube to be able to check out all of Guy McPherson's current work. If you're watching this channel, you should know that because a lot of what me and Joey studied directly has to do with Guy sharing the work of other scientists that were actually telling the truth.
Yeah, if you look at the Nature Bats Last climate summary and update, and he hasn't updated it since 2016. There's really no need to, other than the new data that's coming in as far as like how much things are today.
Yeah. One of the new ones, Joey, he did, which is off of that old video, obviously, but was talking about the various types of seals, walruses, whales off of Alaska that are being tested positive for different chemical toxins in them, like different fertilizer runoffs, oil byproducts, mining byproducts up in Alaska are turning up. The scientific paper confirms that these toxins are turning up in the meat and the bones of the sea animals. We have documented, peer-reviewed, conservative journal evidence that we've absolutely ruined the marine ecosystem of the Arctic. And that's what Guy is saying there with that video.
But like Joe, it all comes down to money again. It all comes down to money, and that's why they're doing the things they do, because it saves them money, and then there's no enforcement. There's laws there, right? Not to do things like that, but there's no enforcement of the laws because in the end, Joey and you have said, money trumps all. So
it's no different than if you have enough money, you can murder one person at a time and pay your way out of it with a good lawyer, and in a system that has your back, like like an OJ or something like that. But on a much greater scale, on a global scale, you can just annihilate entire countries of people and animals and ecosystems, and take all that. John Perkins. I don't know if we mentioned him before we did the reboot, but the economic confessions of an economic hitman was always fascinating to me, and that's part of what had me on my path to near-term human extinction. Before I knew the term, and probably at the time it may not have even been a term because it was a long time ago. It was closer to like 2001-ish time frame. But even John Perkins will not he will not agree that it's over and we're going extinct. And it's frustrating to see these brilliant minds.
Yeah. I was going to say to that is sometimes the people that, really know what they're saying kind of repeat themselves and they sound a little crazy. And then once they actually are right, it's like, that's why they repeated themselves. I don't know how many times I've heard Michael C. Rupert say, until you change the way money works, you change nothing. And that's where we're at. I mean, we've even, people our age talk a lot about Bitcoin, and we paid into it a little bit, just, see how it works. But like, it's not changing the way money works.
Right. It's because it's also not environmentally friendly yet. Like Bitcoin's very bad for the environment. So like you said, it's still not really changing money because there's big whales who own most of the Bitcoin and basically manipulate the price so they can buy it lower and then reap the benefits when it goes back up again. So Justin's definitely right about that. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I think like Justin said, having a community is definitely important. And
yeah.
I'm glad that I can be a part of this community now with you guys.
Well, think about it this way. When you have somebody like your grandfather, and I did this a couple of years ago, dying of cancer, the only solution is to do whatever you can to make the days that you have with him decent. Like you're completing the relationship, as Guy often says. You're getting the questions answered. You're getting the conversations held. He's telling you cool stories that you never knew before, type stuff. Like, do that with all of your friends as if they were your dying grandfather. That's what the solution is. Treat everybody of every age
and the environment
and every animal.
Yeah.
I mean, my cat is basically dying right now. I think she has a brain tumor, and I've been working on that, and it's been incredibly emotional. I've woken up and cried and hugged this animal every day for days now. And it's just like, we should be treating all of the plants, all of the people. I mean, obviously we have some discretion with, people being shitty and all, but like the people that are paying attention to this and that are really, genuinely concerned about the environment, we should be just treating everybody as if they were our dying grandfather or our dying cat, and just try to be more understanding and try to get them to understand this, but at the same time, not really hold it to them. Like I've wasted so much anger and frustration on people, even before when I was super liberal. Like, why don't you get that I'm a Democrat, and why don't you, I used to be just like that, man. I voted in 2016. I voted back in the day. I really thought I was making a difference, and now it's just like, I can make a difference to the individual people in my life. Whether we vote in leaders that end up actually being corrupt or do anything or not, I can still influence my friends that I care about, like you, Joey. You both can do that to all of your friends, and then spread that network 6 degrees of separation. And, we haven't even gotten to all the temperature records that we've broken. It's not even summer. Usually when you break temperature records, it's some point in summer. It's the middle of summer. It's the end of summer.
And it's one place at a time. It's not like here. It's,
we're shattering. I'm just off the top of my head. Sheridan, Wyoming ties its record 107. Salt Lake City breaks its record at 107. Forecast for Chihuahua, Mexico coming up is 120, remains to be seen. Kevin Hester said there's a desert in Iran and one in Mexico that both reached a temperature
It was,
80 degree.
Loot desert.
Yeah,
in
80
Iran.
degrees Celsius, which is 170 something degrees in the desert. Obviously, nobody lives there and there's no water there, but like this is how hot the earth is already getting. And instruments are already confirming that. So we've got Oman, the country of Oman broke its temperature record, all-time highest, 124.9 degrees. Basically, put your head in an oven if you want to live in one of these places right now. Like, so interestingly enough, last night, overnight, picture how cold it is at night. I was up till like 4 o'clock last night, stressed out, couldn't sleep, and it was still like 60 something degrees. In Phoenix, Arizona, the overnight temperature low was 92.
Rita just said it was like 115
Yeah,
there right now.
Overnight. So imagine
Yep.
the sun goes down and it's not supposed to be hot anymore, and it's still 92 degrees. You wake up at 3 in the morning to go take your trash out and like get a nice dew on the grass. It's 92 degrees.
It was waking up at 3 in the morning to take the trash.
I mean, okay, that's like a thing I do, but
Oh, really?
no, I'll just stay up till 3 in the morning and
And
take
then-
it out
and
before
then
I go
take
to
it
bed.
okay.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
Here's another fun one, Joey. The Amazon rainforest. I guess they stopped deforesting last year because of COVID. Deforestation has gone up 67% from last June.
I saw that. Yeah, and it was already at about this time last year, if I remember right. It was about 300 yards, or basically a football field, basically per like second. It was ridiculous. That was getting deforested. And that's the lungs of the planet, just like the Arctic is the air conditioner of the planet. That Amazon, had a big impact on our air quality throughout the planet because of how just luscious and lively and healthy that ecosystem used to be. And
That's another. Sorry, Joe. I don't mean to cut you off. There's another because you keep bringing up headlines because you don't even know all these headlines, but you're talking about them. Brazil prepares. They're preparing an energy response for their drought, which means at some point they might start cutting electricity for a certain amount of hours a day in Brazil. So think about the ramifications of one of the major BRIC countries rationing their electricity because of drought.
I mean, Brazil has a crazy ass leader in Bolsonaro. I mean, that guy's fucking wagadoodle. Like, he's
not wrong.
He's
another climate warrior.
Yeah.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Make money.
Yeah, make money.
That tree's got to be worth something. Cut it the fuck down.
Here's a couple more good ones.
You know what the thing is, though? Like, it's crazy that like people like to make money off of other people's misery. And that shit's nuts to me. That's some like sadistic, dark shit. Like, if you really think about it, that's what it comes down to, is that somebody's making money off of other people's misery. And that shit.
It kind of doesn't it like kind of make you wish that you, like, part of you wish that you were just as either smart or as retarded as Honey Boo Boo, depending on how you look at it. Like, maybe I should just be like, man, I like Scatty and ketchup, or like maybe because you're not going to make money doing like good, being like doing a good thing.
Right.
You're just going to be like,
right.
and
dude,
that's another point, man.
It's so crazy.
Toddler beauty pageants. How fucked up.
The dichotomy between good and evil, man.
Toddler
I've been talking about this.
The fuck is
Sorry, I know we're getting a little off rails.
No, it's just there was a conversation on Facebook. There was like a meme that was like basically like, if you want to do good, people go into public service expecting to do something and make a change.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to do good, go to Amazon and like make a mess and ruin their business model or something. Like go to a big corporation and make a mess and make them cost them money. That's what it's just like, I went to college and then I got a bachelor's degree. I was a social worker. I worked at a kids shelter, for kids that lost, people that lost custody of their
You got
kids.
paid nothing
That and
to
like,
help people.
I tried all this.
Or to help
I
the
worked so
environment,
hard
people
to
who
make a
help the
difference. I worked so hard to make a difference. And although I made a difference individually in those kids' lives, like I had some kids placed in better placement. Like I helped people have better lives technically. But ultimately I couldn't change the system. I couldn't do anything. So it's like, you can't just get a job like that and make no money and not get paid for your college loans that cost $100,000, but that's what mine cost, $100,000 plus. And you can't survive, and then you're expected to just be Superman and save the day. Like the way that people are, and the expectations put on our generation to do everything and anything that everybody older than us, no offense to anybody, everybody older than us didn't do and didn't follow through with, it's immense pressure right now. And people that don't know about this shit that are our age are under that pressure and they're stressed and they don't know why, but they know. They know something's wrong and it's fucked up and things are not going good for them, but they don't know it's extinction and capitalism.
Things have been wrong for a long time.
It's just ingrained and it's
just the
okay.
problem is people have just started really waking up to the issues with the environment, and people are just starting to wake up to the fact that everything isn't really right, and I don't know. I want to remain optimistic. I want to remain hopeful, but I don't know. It's a little scary.
Newbie.
Like natural disasters, there's been so many more natural disasters recently compared to like any other time in history, just because, we just treat Mother Earth very, very badly. And, we have the resources to do something monumental. Like, I think the worst thing for the environment was probably the Industrial Revolution. And the best thing that could happen for the environment is the Green Revolution. We should really, really harp on going green everything. Like,
But that's the thing about, like Tim, like Guy points out, Tim Garrett has like 5 different papers of no matter what you do, society is heated, and he's absolutely right about that. Both Tim and Guy, because if going solar, cutting down wood to burn, to keep ourselves warm when it's cold, or cook our meals or whatever, we are just. And especially there's 7.9 billion of us on the planet now that we've gone way, way, way. Like there's no turning back.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it's so clearly like 100 years ago, maybe something could have.
We were born,
right?
People could have really changed all this.
Right.
But then
last episode,
look at the history.
last episode, I showed a video.
Just turn the dial up, every year. Knowing that in 1929 we were on the path to extinction, and we just kept turning the dial up. More population, more wars, more growth. Growth on an infinite planet. It's it's so beyond over, and there's no stopping. The 60 or so feedback loops are self-reinforcing feedback loops are they're already in motion. And
yeah, well, let me go over that really quick too for Hattie. So the best example that I like the Guy gives is you're at the top of a mountain and somebody pushes a snowball down the mountain. There's no way that it's going to get smaller. It's going to keep rolling. Yeah. So that's what a self-reinforcing feedback loop is. So basically, like ocean currents getting hotter is a feedback loop, because once they get hotter, then more heat goes into them and then they get hotter. So there's like,
and it melts,
That's another. So Guy McPherson has a paper called Climate Change Summary and Update. That's on his website. That's like 30,000 words, something like that. That's like 60 or 70 of the self-research that he's compiled over the last decade of research of other scientists. It's not his work. It's other scientists' peer-reviewed literature, basically being like, you don't believe me. Here's a whole library of proof that other people's. You don't need to believe me. Believe this whole library of proof.
Like, I'm not biased. Like, look at all this proof right here.
Right.
I love it.
It is literally a library. That's a good.
That really
that's a good
hits,
analogy.
Yeah, that really hits.
You can't like, and even if you are reading through and you go, no, that can't be true. Well, click on the link, and here you go. And you know, and it's all about, you know, connecting the dots. And you know, I think all of us are good at that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't. But nobody connected the dots like I did, and had access to the information that guy did, because he had access to the information, being a huge emeritus professor. He was an educator, and you know, it's conservation biology. That's why I love snakes, because they're the most wrongfully misunderstood animal, and they're very important to our ecosystems, but people love to kill them, you know. Yeah. And
for no reason, like,
you know, yeah, and
they're not
that's
eating
why,
snakes.
you know, I thought, I'm gonna, you know, help turn this thing around. No. And when I saw people just get dumber and dumber, and choose, not only just get dumber, but choose ignorance over information, it scared the shit out of me. And that's when I began looking more and more and deeper. Like I did, Tammy and I, my wife and I went to a venomous class to learn how to work with venomous, so that we could take a venomous snake out of your yard or your area, relocate it. You know, now you're safe, and the animal doesn't have to die, right? So, and it's a very simple class. I mean, it was taught by a guy from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and a zookeeper. Well, the zookeeper we were hanging out with, and that was at the time of about 2014 to 2016, I think, maybe around 2014. The HSUS, Humane Society in the United States, had just started infiltrating zoos. So Humane Society is against animal keeping. They're against zoos, but they're donating money to zoos. So that was really fucked up. So we were all like, why is this happening? What's going on? And he tells us, he says, Humane Society of the United States had a top 10 list of animals they wanted extinct, elephants being number 1.
Yeah. Dude, well,
and so why are you infiltrating zoos and you want animals extinct? And my friend, the zookeeper, is telling us this because he's like, hey, I'm like you guys. I'm a reptile guy. If people don't go to the zoo to see the reptiles, they go to see the elephants, the giraffes, the lions, the tigers, you know, the bears. They don't go to see the snakes. We're a sideshow, and that's where, you know, that's where he fits in, because that's where he was a snake zookeeper. And he said, so it really, he really we all had an issue with, like, why is Humane Society of the United States, who's against animal keeping, putting money into zoos? They're destabilizing, tearing down. It's all about the money. And it's fascinating. And questioning all that is, and knowing that we're all going extinct, and here's the Humane Society wanting everything to go extinct, that freaked me the fuck out. It's 2017. Tammy just brought me our thing from the graduating in the class. It fucking broke my heart, and I knew right then. I said, this is we're on a bad path. Money is totally taken over, and anything that you think is good is not. Donating to Greenpeace or Humane Society or PETA or any of that is not what you think
Thank you for
doing.
reminding me, Joey. So the other analogy that Guy McPherson makes, which I don't know if Hattie, if you're fully caught up with, is about the aerosol masking effect or global dimming, which, if anybody doesn't know, is on the new Netflix documentary called Breaking Boundaries. You know who David Attenborough is?
Yeah.
The British guy. It's like, we've got to do something now before it's too late. I've been on this planet almost 100 years, and none of you have done anything about it. That guy? All right, so
I can squirt my cancer cell and deplete anything that's going to kill us.
he the way his eye is like how my cat's tumor is. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like she can't even see.
You morbid fuck.
The new documentary, he mentions the aerosol masking effect. So what Guy McPherson's analogy is, all jokes aside, is he uses Homer Simpson goes to the beach, right? So it's hot at the beach. So Homer Simpson puts an umbrella over him to block the sunlight and get the shade. That's the aerosol masking effect.
Yeah.
Then Homer decides, oh, I have a blanket, I'm fine. And then he wraps him, or I have an umbrella, I'm fine. I'm going to wrap myself in a blanket and go to sleep. The blanket is greenhouse gases.
Right.
So at the same time that we're heating and we're wrapping ourselves in a blanket, we're also casting an umbrella that's reducing 40% of the heating.
Right.
So hypothetically, if you shut off all the planes, all the giant tankers, all the factories, the planet will heat up 40% over weeks to months because there's no longer aerosols reflecting on the sun. It's a catch-22.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's no. That's why Greenpeace and solar panels and all that is from a past time.
Yeah.
Because that's past the point where we could have did anything.
Right.
Because as soon as we shut everything down.
Right. So basically, like all this stuff and all this activism. Well, I don't like to say activism, but basically all the solutions and like solar panels and going green and stuff like that is basically for naught because basically we already damaged everything too much already. And it's already in a domino effect where things are already taking place regardless of whether we go green or not. And that's really scary to me, you know.
You can back up and say, let's say we never burned fossil fuels, but we did. We just started out green with burning wood and doing wind turbines and solar. Even that is a heat engine, especially
Burning the soil.
7.9 billion people on the planet now. Like Guy talks about, Tim Barrett saying that society is a heat engine. No matter how you power it, we're creating heat. We're cooking the planet. We've just paved paradise, put up a parking lot. I mean, we've literally concreted everything, and that heats in itself because the highways, bridges, the buildings, the cities, they're their own heat engine within themselves. No matter how you power them, even if you just throw solar panels, and let's say they just line the road with solar panels and we drive on solar panels, to get the mining that has to be done for those solar panels and are these things. There's babies digging cobalt. That's horrible.
I just realized we didn't even do any graphs of anything yet because
we didn't do it. Oh yeah.
I didn't even get through all the news. There's too much news. Like
you're right. It's
Arizona wildfires. There's Alaska wildfires. There's Washington State wildfires. There's Siberia wildfires. There's a bunch of Chinese shipping ports are now closing over the new COVID strain. I was talking to him about Home Depot rented their own giant shipping tanker so they could buy their own stuff and keep selling it because there's so many supply chain disruptions right now. Like, how does anybody get any of this and not equal collapse? I don't know. Shout out to Marco, homie, my mi amici.
Love you, Marco.
Mi amo, Marco.
Buddy, man. Long time friend, dude. Fuck, Marco, buddy. We love you, man.
All my Italian class learning, but let me go into a couple things because we're just having a whirl of the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Joey. So this is the first time I've checked Polar View a little bit.
Yeah.
So we've got a huge hole here and here, and I'm looking at this kind of like crack forming a recess.
So here's a good analogy. Just imagine if your brain had all these holes in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing. The environment. Right? The environment is your brain, and basically we're poking holes in your brain. Okay, like just to dumb it down a little bit for layman's.
I just want to take a skillet and try to put it back together, so at least it's
Right.
like a lump sum in the middle, you know, something to work with.
The interesting thing, Hattie, is if you see this white ice right here, this is what you would call solid ice.
Right.
The blue ice is not solid.
Right.
So it's looking like ice chips
All around.
all around.
On the edges.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a spider.
So when we talk about how much ice extent we have and we're approaching record low, we can't even really say that because a lot of that is floating cubes. Like we've already lost way more ice than the data is suggesting.
Right, of course.
From graphs like this, which
Right.
is the Japanese satellite data that we use.
This is insane. Look at this.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Justin. That's really important.
So this is 2012, the record low. Do you see how we're under that?
Yeah.
So this is 2020, last year. Do you see how close we got last year and nobody was paying attention
Yeah,
because
of
of
course.
COVID?
Yeah.
The ice almost melted last year.
Do you
We were close.
that a lot of things are talked about in the media heavily to basically blind people to the fact that the environment is being destroyed day by day by day.
Oh,
by day,
absolutely.
you know?
That's the goal. That's like that's the purpose of the media. It's no different than
complex.
people. You know, Nazi Germany wasn't an accident. Now we're Nazi America, and we completely
just moved
ignore.
here.
Yeah, self fear, and they won't know what's really coming at them. It's so dumb. So
We
bad.
like sheltered in the refugee scientists from Germany.
Yeah,
We're like,
Operation
let me.
Operation Paperclip you're talking
Yes.
Yeah, you know a lot more about that stuff than even I do.
Yeah, I'm a really big history buff, and Operation Paperclip was basically just importing Nazi scientists to come here, and we gave them a pension until like recently.
Yep.
And it's really that's some like again, man. It's like
What about all the
it's about resources. It's about money. It's like, oh, we need to be the biggest status military, so let's bring these scientists in. And
what about after that, like the Bikini Atoll testing and the Marshall Islands and all? We just like moved people out of their island, blew it up,
oh yeah,
and then rained fallout on them, and they were drinking that in a different island, and we acted like it was fine, and they
Yeah.
started dying of cancer, and we were like, we'll
Yeah.
write you a check and give
Yeah.
you some bananas
yeah,
or whatever fruit grows on
Yeah.
your island. That's like what
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to be, you know, fucked up. That's what the government said to them. I didn't say that to anybody.
Well, you're absolutely right, Justin. In case in point, in media perspective, we watched Trump throw some paper towels out to fucking territory, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
a territory of the United States. But people in the United States think that they're all foreigners and they're not part of, and they don't pay their taxes, they don't pay their dues. So fuck them. You know, they're not shit. They're actually a fucking territory of the United States. People don't fucking even know, or, you know, and it doesn't even matter that they're a territory. They're people and there's life there. And we just, you know, oh, Trump did everything, man. He went down there, he threw out like 4 paper towels.
He was shooting baskets.
Go
He was
me.
like,
Go
Can't
me.
wait for, you know, the shit that we're gonna see Biden do when the shit hits the
already
fan
doing
this
that.
summer. I mean, yeah, he's already doing that. Right.
So right.
But
So
the shit
Trump
that he's
grade-
gonna,
Trump creates such a low bar that people are okay with a little bit of marginal benefit. They're like, oh wow,
yeah. Well, that's the
great,
exact
'cause he's
reason
a little
how
marginally
people are,
better. Woo! And I'm
that's
just
how
like-
people are okay with locking kids in
I'm just
cages,
like, oh god.
because that's exactly how people just are totally okay with locking kids in cages. It's totally insane.
Salute, Joey.
Oh man, I'm gonna get a refill.
We'll get a refill. We'll wait for you.
All that's left in here is tears.
yeah,
Won't send down any clip.
go
Oh.
get your refill. I'll run down everything I haven't said.
If you want to get a refill.
Yeah, if not, I don't care. You can just hang out with us. June
No, I'm
11th.
hanging out. I got
June-
I got
All
my
right, so
my
this is really
secretary.
interesting. I don't know how much 1,870 meters is. That's like almost 5,000, 6,000 feet. Temosequic, Mexico, 102.9 Fahrenheit at 5,000 plus feet. That's like a mile high city. You know, I'm sure Kevin Hester heard about the 1 in 200 year flood that happened on South Island, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Or not where he lives. He made a joke about how people act like they're
In Salt Lake City.
it
Salt Lake
happens on
City, I
South
think,
Island.
was
Yeah, Salt Lake City broke the
5.
record.
That's
It was 107.
dang. They should still have snow caps on their mountains within vision, you know, within sight of
Probably don't though.
right. No, I'm sure that's
Here's
all
another
fine.
Here's another interesting one. The country of Jordan in the Middle East is building a desalination plant in lieu of a historic drought. So they don't have any more water, and they didn't really have water for hundreds of years, basically. Anyway, but so they're going to try to clean the salty seas that are drying up for their water because they're out of water.
That's
Actually, all these environmental concerns, what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot more refugees, and then basically it's going to create a lot more wars because people are going to try and find, you know,
It's an extension of the Syrian conflict. That's, I feel like
they're
that
just going to try and find
a lot of
safe,
people have said that.
safe, you know, passages and safe shelter when the environment goes bad and goes, you know, and you can't live in a certain place because it's too hot or, you know, too cold, then you're going to migrate. And
Right.
there's a lot we're up against too, because like Kevin Hester brings up a lot, and I completely agree with, is as we get to the last, or even if we're not already at any point now, as we're getting into the last bits of the ice, the elite can set off the nuclear weapons to try to cool the planet, create nuclear winter. And that only protects them really in their bunkers.
Yep.
And we know they have bunkers, and that's one thing we'll talk about. And I sorry for I wanted to mention Kevin Hester. He was going to be on with us tonight, but he had a passing, a friend of his passed, and we want to, pay homage to Kevin. I totally understand, not, but our condolences, man. Our thoughts are with you, Kevin, and the passing of your friend. Will, you got to grieve over that stuff. It takes time, and there's a lot going on.
take as much time as you need, honestly. I feel like
Yeah.
with grief, like a lot of people try and rush you to be normal again, and it's like take as much time as you like. I don't even know Kevin personally, but it's just anyone who's going through some sort of grief or loss. It's like, take the time to grieve and heal yourself from that grief.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's that's really, that's kind of what we talk about. I think that's really all we have time for.
Oh,
the shitty part is that we also have to make money. Because I mean, fuck it. If anybody out there can help anybody, Justin is, basically carless and homeless at any moment, and kind of really is like he's in. And I could be in the same boat. I've always been a week or two from being homeless my entire life. That's a lot of fucking stress. That's a lot of stress. And I've dealt with that for most of my life. And only the last few years, 7 years ago, I got a decent enough job that paid me better, that I didn't have to work other jobs to stay afloat, right? And then lost that job. And then luckily got hired back so that's a good thing. But having to go to work, and 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 especially Justin, and folks in his shoes, because my work is like scheduled. I already know what I'm doing. I know the time I'm going to do.
So today,
And I'm going to make X amount, and that. But when you're delivering food, or just you have to juggle like 3,000 jobs, or whatever. It's just dumb. It's fucking not good, and it's not healthy. And you don't make money. You don't better yourself. You still fall further behind. But you're just trying to stay afloat to eat a fucking hamburger when you get hungry. It's just dumb. It's dumb, and it's I've always been over it in that sense. I used to still when I drive to work and I drive over a bridge, not so much now. I used to want to jump off the bridge, just stop my car and just jump. But I don't do that. I don't think like that anymore, because I know we're almost at the end. But at the same time, the stress, I get sick every morning. As I get out of the shower or whatever, as I'm putting my clothes on, I stress puke every morning. And I try to not to do it at work. I try not to do it in front of the house. But this morning I'm walking out to my car and I just fucking unload. Just like 3 times I get in my car and I'm backing up into the corner so I can pull out of the driveway, and I'm still having the door open, puking, and I've got to be at work. If I don't leave right now, I'm going to be late. So I try to plan to leave early enough to be on time. But as I get to that final minute of where it's time to go to work, that's when the stress peak comes. So even if I got up an hour early, it's only when I'm walking out the door or about to walk out the door I just start puking. It's fucked, man.
I'm muted.
So
I didn't know I was muted. I was going to say something about like there's been a semiconductor chip shortage. There's been, you've mentioned tractor trailer shortage in the United Kingdom. There's a shortage of people to drive trucks, like food stores. There's all these things going on that, like, we're talking about the quote unquote end, and it's like, one of these things, if the economy went down and money went down, that would affect our food system, and that would kill most of us, and because of the resulting violence and all the other stuff. And on the other hand, if you were just focusing on climate change and the economy was fine, that would also kill most of everybody and take away the food systems and all that stuff. So it's like we're facing both of those calamities head on right now, and they're kind of competing with which one. Like, I used to make this joke a while ago about one day they're going to be electing presidents like, I can crash the economy in 10 days. And the other guy's like, I can do it in a week. And then the other guy's like, I can do it in 2 days. Like, that's what the election campaigns are going to be. Like, I love the joke he used to make. But, like, I don't know if
so true, man.
This, but, we've heard the supercomputer summit that, the government has, defense or wherever, said that they're projecting the ice-free Arctic by 2024, which is the first time it would have happened in the 200,000 plus years of human history. And 2024, as you and I know, is conservative. Looking at the graphs, we were just having.
We're looking at 2021.
Like, we're about to see 100 plus melt days once the solstice hits. Like we had 40K last night, and that's a gift. Every normal day right now is a gift to me. But like, the government supercomputer is saying we're probably not going to have an election in 2024 because the ice will have melted by then, and the ramifications of the ice melting is no elections. It's gas not coming. It's food not being there. It's computers and cars not showing up. It's calamity. So the supercomputer is projecting that. That's not even like a scientist or whatever. The so-called pinnacle of technology, the computation master AI, is saying that we're not going to have another election.
That's a good point.
Isn't that crazy?
You're absolutely right, Justin. That's a good point, and we know this information. I remember Guy mentioned it that he got a an email from a CIA operative that he's friends with. That this guy knows his social security number. He knows like he's like so he's legit. Somebody and he used to be a student in guys' class in college. They go way back. So he's the CIA guy that watches and knows. And yeah, he even emailed Guy and said there will not be a 2024 election, which is brilliant. That the whole talk and all the focus is, and we're losing our rights to vote, right? Our voting rights are being just torn away. We can't let that happen. We've got to fight for our right to be able to vote in an election that won't even fucking happen. That's the level. That's the level of just shining the light, on the wrong thing.
That gets to the disconnect we were talking about the other day with like so many poor people are so compressed into this lifestyle of having to work all the time and struggle to pay rent that like they're so, and especially minorities are so worried about surviving, not getting shot by cops, getting thrown in jail that
making ends meet. Really.
Yeah, they don't even really
So
get
the rich,
to know
so the
a lot
rich
of
people
this,
are
like,
focused on making money and taking all the money they can, and the poor people are focused on surviving. And the middle classes are just like, man, we don't want to be lower class, but we really are starting to get more lower class because the middle class is diminishing. So everybody's just busy and not really focused on what truly matters. And I feel like we all need to get our priorities straight about the environment and what's right and what's wrong. There's definitely a dichotomy going on right now. There's definitely good versus evil, and I feel like eventually we're gonna have to pick sides about whether to do what's right or to pick what's wrong, and whether to pick the environment or pick money, and and it's not just a partisan issue. It's not just Democrats, not just the Republicans. It's both sides. Fracking has been a huge ordeal. Fracking, pipelines, for example, Biden allowed a pipeline to be built by Russia because it was going to go through Germany, and essentially Biden wanted to appease Germany, so he was okay with Russia building that pipeline. And it's like, again, money. Again,
I didn't even know most of that shit.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? And it's like, oh, Russia's our enemy. Russia's our enemy. And then,
I'm Russian, so like I can't even say anything.
but if you really
can you not tell I'm Russian? We don't drink water, we drink vodka. Sorry.
That was great.
That
was amazing.
I got a humor break.
I know, you're right.
But Hattie, you're saying a lot of real stuff. It's this conflagration, is that the word? Conflagration between political corruption and the environment falling apart because of political
corruption
and money. Yeah,
dude, it's really all interconnected when it comes to the economy and stuff like that. It's all interconnected to politics. It's all connected to education, like prison, like all this stuff that happens in daily life, like the prison system, this and that and that. They're all interconnected. They really are, and one affects the other, and
Yep.
Onto it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a quote from Guy that's really good. I gotta steal. If you really think that that money is important, and I'm butchering it, but if you really think money is important, try holding your breath.
If you think the environment, if you think the economy is more important than the environment, try holding your breath while you count your money.
Yeah, you count your money.
I definitely butchered that.
Yeah, but is
But
chef's
everybody knows
kiss.
what I,
That
you know.
quote is chef's kiss, though.
That's got to
Like imagine. Yes,
That's
that is beautiful. You know why?
Yeah.
Because it puts the onus on the person to try to count their money while they're holding their breath. Like, just give it a shot. Go for it. It's
Yes.
like, you know, give it a shot. Try and count your money while you're holding your breath. See how far you can get.
All right, ready?
Oh no. This looks dangerous.
I got it. Now, most
Oh, my-
everybody's virtual in a fucking ones and zeros that are fucking hovering between the balance of
it's
existence
binary.
and being completely
0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1.
anything. All
Binary.
of my rent, all of the
Everything's
things
binary.
are just held in this database that like could disappear at any time. That was one of my other articles. Was the internet apparently went down last week in a lot of sections. Like you couldn't get online in a lot of different places. So
you can't buy gas. You can't do
why
your
the internet is one domino from collapse. The internet goes down. How much virtual banking is now tied to this database that we're just speeding along collapse if that happens? Like
If there was really a purpose and like a game plan, there would be a game plan to go back to pre-internet so that we could do things on like paper receipts or, you know, or whatever. But no, there's no going back to that. It's going to collapse, and it's when we lose the internet, you know, and that kind of stuff, then there's no transactions to be made. It's and that's why I do suggest if anybody has any extra cash, have a little extra cash on hand, because the dumb people, when it happens, the dumb people won't realize it and they'll still take cash, so you can still get some shit, maybe, hopefully. But after that, people will figure it out. And cash, even then, won't be worth shit. So a little bit of cash in the beginning
now, but
might still get you some stuff, because people will be like, "Oh yeah, it'll be Oh, you want a 500-gallon tank of water for $100? Fucking have it, man." You know, not, and they're like, dumbass. Money's not going to be worth anything. That 100 gallons of water was, you fucked up by selling that shit to me.
Yeah,
That's the only
people
reason.
don't understand that, man. Hyperinflation. People really don't understand hyperinflation. Like in Zimbabwe, how there was hyperinflation, or how, you know, or how like after, you know, Nazi Germany collapsed, how there was hyperinflation and how people couldn't afford things and how people were starving. Like that's a reality. Like money being worthless is a reality. You're not wrong about that, Joey. Definitely not.
It's insane. It's totally
It
insane.
really is.
Like I've said this
It's a
before,
paper.
too,
It's a piece of paper. Like,
yeah, right. There's
like,
nothing.
what the fuck, man? Okay.
There's nothing of real value about it. Like
See,
like you
this is worth $5 because I said it's worth $5.
oh yeah, well this is worth $90 because I said it's worth $90. Because my saliva's on it. That's what capitalism basically is, right? If I put a brand name on a piece of my flesh, I could probably make $500 more than otherwise, right? Like,
Nah, dude, you should just get your car fucking wrapped in like an advertisement.
yeah, whenever I get a
put
call,
some spinners on that motherfucker.
put like a porn site on the hood or something.
I mean, man,
I saw somebody with
lie.
like a
Not gonna
Brazzers
lie.
license plate thing the other day, and I was like,
pro sex
Christ.
work.
no, exactly.
But that's just my own opinion. I'm not trying to push my opinions on others.
On me.
Yeah.
I'm pushing my opinions on you
It's okay.
right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna let it out.
No, that's fine.
Not really.
I mean, it's really good information that I think everybody needs.
You've been a good student, Hattie, because you you get it, and a lot of what you added was spot on. So you're on the spectrum, you know, you're on board. You understand, you get it. You might not have especially Justin, you might not have the knowledge he has because he's done so much research and he's been so, from the heart, studying this stuff. But you're on the right track. And having Justin, like any questions you have, dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, Justin's not gonna steer you wrong. He's a smart dude. He is.
Yeah.
Amongst everybody that's in the know, really, is very highly respected. And even though this is my channel and all that bullshit, more highly respected than I am, and I have more respect for Justin than myself for his knowledge, because he does know more. He does do more research, and just knows more than even I do. So he's taught me a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And plus just being savvy with data. He can just go to all these different satellite sites and get the data, and so he literally sees it from a real-time perspective, as any of us have the freedom to do, but most of us choose not to. And even if we do, like, I don't choose not to to look at that, but I'm not as good at manipulating and looking up what's important. I barely know a few websites, and
That was a great shout out, man.
Yeah, dude. I think it has a lot to do.
Joey's the man. I'm so happy that I was on the show. So I really appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. I think it was really cool that you did, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot to come on and talk about it.
I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I was like beforehand. I was like,
yeah. High five. Yeah, dude.
I was nervous when I started doing streams, but I appreciate that. I think it has a lot to do with my background. Like I'm not shy of this anymore. I was the kid that not a lot of people liked, and I sat by myself and read the textbook at lunch. I was really into geography and the world, and I learned more and more and more about the world going into high school and college, and how interconnected and how colonialism, these little countries of white people just went around doing whatever the hell they wanted, taking whatever. And we're now experiencing the ramifications in layman's terms, basically.
But you gotta understand that it's white people in power, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
We got. I think we have to
understand. That's why I said tiny groups.
Okay,
yeah,
you did say that.
Like kingdoms, like kingships, monarchs.
Right.
Yeah, it's always been.
My ancestors are from Eastern Europe. Most of we don't really have much to do with much of that. So it's
the thing is if we're gonna be able to accomplish anything, we need all the allies that we can get from every single race. We need allies. We need to spread the word. And
planetary hospice.
Yeah.
Justin, I have a question.
The community that you guys create is unbelievable, honestly, because especially during the pandemic and how
Yeah, this knowledge is not and you can't unknow it. If you have the type of mentality and you research and you want to know about your planet and the world that you live in, which I think is really important, and I don't understand why people don't think that's important. So it's always been really confusing to me. And that's why I have a question for Justin. So, the shit that we get from our family, our friends, people that just tell us, so I have somebody, I won't mention the person, but somebody that's always told me not to think about it. Okay, my mother. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk. There's just no point. But she messaged my wife and said, I have a new lump. I'm like, tell her not to think about it. It doesn't even matter. It probably will never become anything because you've got a lot more coming than, a lump. It's it's so frustrating. Like, I want to be concerned and be like, oh no, that's terrible. But when I called you and told you that the never-ending war on terror was just announced, and that will annihilate all life on Earth in 2002, well, don't think about it, Joey. Well, you know what? I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to. You know what? I'm telling you, Mom, don't think about that lump. Don't think about it. I've gotten that my entire life. I can't not give it back because that's all I ever received.
What was the question though?
Oh, yeah, I did have a
I was
question.
like, I don't think I
What
heard.
would you say? That was my
What
question.
was my reaction?
Yeah, how would you handle that?
Well, for me, it's just like, I don't know. My mom shuts down a lot when I try to talk to her about this kind of stuff. Even when her dad passed away a couple years ago, and we completed the hospice for that, I was like, your dad was talking to me about the fact that the seasons, he died at 80. The seasons aren't the same as they were when he was a kid. Like, this dude don't know much about climate change and was telling me that. He said he had heard of Guy McPherson when I showed him the stuff, but I feel like he was on his deathbed just trying to appease what I was talking about. I don't know if he really did, but like, your dad opened up to this before he passed away. I think it's time that, you really accept, especially as somebody that cares for animals and completes animal hospice so often. I think it's time for you to open up to planetary hospice in your personal life. And I'd like my parents and my family and the rest of them to stop worrying so much about their bills and their aspirations for careers. And I wish they would just tap more into the hospice mentality. And
Yeah.
don't have any control over whether they do or not. So I'm just making the choice to love them anyway, and just be there for them up until the point where maybe they change their mind and maybe we can actually complete that relationship. Maybe that's a little hopium, but I don't know. I've been so mad and frustrated so much of this struggle to the point where I'm more now focused on grief and completing that process and completing relationships. Like, I hang out with Hattie a lot now because, I don't know how much time we have to do all of this on the first hand. And on the second hand, I don't have a lot of friends I can talk to. Before I asked Hattie to be on the show a couple months ago, we went bowling, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the car and I was like, dude, with everything's going on, a lot of people, scientists included, are saying that, human beings aren't going to be here in 10 years. And this guy, didn't flinch and was like, yeah, I believe that. His background knowledge of geopolitics and economics gave him enough clues to the answer to that puzzle that I just had to really just put that extra piece out there. And he already had, and that's how I felt when I found this information. It was just the missing piece. When I learned about Papua New Guinea and how the British were ruining all the rivers mining there, I was just thinking of all the instances we know about environmental degradation. Think about all the ones we don't know. For everyone we do, there's 10 that we don't know about that have never been researched, and data has been proven. So it's I realized in college we were really killing the planet, and then a couple months later found Guy McPherson's work. And it just segued perfectly in to the narrative I was forming already in my head about how screwed up this is. And I was trying not to blame myself for not getting a job and being better and meeting standards, and trying to realize that I never was going to do any of that shit.
Honestly, man, when it comes to jobs, dude, most people aren't going to have jobs. And robotization is
Automation,
automation, robotization.
But even besides
it's
that,
going to happen in the next
wage inequality
20 to 25 years, I believe. A lot of the jobs are even stuff like surgery is just going to be robots doing. I feel that I might be wrong.
We're here that long.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
I don't know if we will be here that. personally, but I agree that
I feel like it's gonna happen, and then we're not gonna be here. Like that's like the final stage. It's like when robots take over, and then we're not gonna be here.
my viewpoint on things is the last tweet will be sent by a bot and not a human being.
The last tweet.
Yeah, like everyone will be dead by
That's a
the.
good point.
That's
a really
my
good
opinion
point.
on that.
It's gonna. What do you think the last tweet's gonna say?
It's gonna be some.
R.I.P. world.
No, it's gonna be like Hot Girl Summer or something like.
That's the thing about like my mom, dude. She like everyone around and in my life has been so toxic. You know, they're all pro, you know, the worst, like pro Trump, pro Bush, like, you know, not that Democrats are better, but they're like a little softer and a little more like,
Diet Republicans.
you know, they're and that's the only difference. The really
Love the
if
aspartame of Democrats.
if you're a Republican, you're really a narcissist. If you're a Democrat, you're just kind of dumb, and you just think that, like, you know,
So
that,
right,
that there's like hope for
What's going on?
someone.
He's fucking
I know,
on
man.
point, dude. That's
Joey
right.
gets so much flack. Joey gets a lot of shit too.
Oh yeah, we all. I'm sure we all have. You know, I'm sure 80's gotten for what he knows, and if he says,
I mean, you got
Anything about
blackballed out
me,
of your
you know,
job basically. So
you know, knows, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, you're wrong. You know, and that's what's hard to be. You know, when all my life I've just been told I'm wrong, and you know, don't worry about it, don't think about it. You know, it's totally fine to lock kids in cages. It's totally fine to be pro-war. All that stuff. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting that, and I don't even want to. You know, that's the beautiful thing about social distancing, but we still have to make money. So the social distancing is like, you know, it's just fucked. It's just fucked. All there is. We've got maybe a few weeks. I think everything just froze.
Well, that's the thing, Joey. It's like, you know, I'm not one of those people that's going to deny things could fall apart tomorrow. A nuclear war, X, Y, and Z. Excuse me. Marco and a lot of other people were talking about seeing a crash in August financially. Statistically, most of them usually happen September, October, coinciding with the BOE and the minimum. I mean, I would love to be here a bit longer and play some music and smoke more weed and watch.
Some Yahtzee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even. Yeah, what other cook food?
I know.
We don't
Food is
do
like the
much.
last
As
thing.
poor folk, we don't really do much. We don't really consume a lot of material, but like, you know, like besides plant material, but
And Tostitos.
and Tostitos, but like.
I want to hang out with you guys. That sounds
Be here
pretty,
longer,
pretty
but it's
good.
just like
It sounds like a good diet. Wholesome.
it's awful.
Wholesome, right?
Terrible diet. But and that fucking soda. But I say this all the time when I talk about BOE with you, and I try not to obsess over it like I'm probably doing. I have been doing. Like I don't want it to happen.
It's a drug. You know,
It's something that and that's what Mike Rupert said at some point was that's why he quit CollapseNet because it was like a drug to continue to see all this news and have to do that. And I'm you know, I'm recovering from a addiction in my past life from college and shit. So this is kind of like the new manifest of that. You know, I still have to get myself off of burying my face in news and data because I'm addicted to wanting to know everything, even though I never will. So, you know, I'll call myself out on that. And I'm sure a lot of people that check this out may feel the same way. But at the same time, it's okay to be engaged. It's okay to feel this devotion to wanting to be informed because there's so few of us and we've been so ostracized and excluded from society. To
You're weird.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So you might as well dig into it. You might as well know as much as you can while we're here, in my opinion. And you know, smoke and enjoy yourself. I've finished quite a few Millers already.
I think it's disgusting to have all this knowledge at the tip of your fingertips and to deny and not care about the world that you live in and not even want to know about the world you live in. And that's why as soon as as soon as the internet came, because my card catalog was punk rock lyrics, and Dustin and I were kind of texting about that the other day, in that, song lyrics. You can, back in the day before the internet, a good band, good lyrics would teach you, that you're living a lie and everything is a lie, and you would get information that was really valuable. And so when the internet came, first I wanted to look and see if there were any good punk bands coming to Atlanta that I could go see. But at the same time, I also was like, now I can, if I want to learn about anything, and I was in my mid-20s too. So, also, if I want to watch porn, fuck, I've never had that much access to porn. That in itself was pretty cool for a mid-20s dude, single dude, and very lonely dude, because my mind works in the way that, yeah, I want to know what the hell's going on. And, I'm not concerned about the football game, because absolutely not. But I'd
That's the
rather know,
thing.
how come I can't better
We're
myself?
concerned. We're concerned about it because, like, we're young and this is our brief distraction from collapse. So we're gonna, like, go watch basketball and football and be like, "Oh, this is so great!" And when
For like an hour, and then after that, we're like, "Oh man,
and then when our team loses or chokes, which is pretty, if you know anything about Philadelphia sports, pretty inevitable. It's
Atlanta too. We
right
have the
back to
Braves,
the
the
disappointment
Falcons.
of the paradigm. It's like, it's a perfect parallel. Philadelphia sports is just as shitty as the reality of getting a job that won't pay you. And
dude, that's the perfect analogy. Philadelphia sports is daily life. It's like a roller coaster.
It's just
like
suffering.
Yeah,
It's
it really
suffering.
is just suffering.
You're lucky you don't live here.
It's the same thing with,
We have
because
the best,
but I've never
we have the
liked
best pizza in the
traditional
country.
sports, because those guys always made fun of me. So I've always been a motorcycle BMX guy, because that was
That's
my
cool, yeah.
thing. But in
Yeah,
the
Joey,
long
he
term,
doesn't. He did a motorcycle magazine. He used to, like,
Really?
do-
Publish it?
yeah, take the pictures and write the articles
That's so
on
cool.
the different dudes, travel to different cities.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's how he segued into this kind of reporting role in terms of what's going on.
Yeah.
In my view, at least.
yeah, I always made fun of all
You,
the
have
ridiculous.
you do have a good podcast radio voice, so.
Thank you. And you can come catch me at a Georgia motocross event where nobody will ever talk to me or talk about any of this. But yeah, I've been announcing Georgia motocross race
I'll just talk about
for like
Joey
40
said this
years.
video,
That's the
he
best
talks
part.
about
40 years.
methane over the loudspeaker, and it's all like Republican. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, man, he's the diamond in the rough.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
There's like, there really is a little bit of treasure to being the diamond in the rough. Like the one, like, hopeful little diamond, like amongst all the turds. You're like, oh.
Love it. Awesome.
I think I ramble too much, though.
No.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Your contribution was great.
Yeah, exactly. And you never
I don't know
get
about Joey,
a real
but I
chance to really talk and like let yourself out there. And you did, and what you had to say was really cool. And it takes a lot to put yourself out there, for one. And so yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hattie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, what I
feel like we all.
What I was gonna say was, like, when shit gets hairier in a month, I don't know about Joey, but I would definitely like to have him back.
Yeah, I would definitely love that.
Comment on.
Yeah.
That's the beauty also of this podcast, is that you a bunch of different interesting people to join the podcast, and it creates different conversations and different viewpoints, and I think that's really great. And
there's only a little bit of areas of hospice that I really see, but I think these kinds of conversations are hospice, for one, and also at the end we have to take care of each other. We have to look out for each other. you know,
100%.
and having, you know, offering a couch for a friend, especially a friend that knows what's going on. Because I wouldn't just invite anybody to, you know, to come and, you know, or anything like that, because you're going to get shitty people. But when you are on this wavelength, I find that most people are good and loving and are more empathetic and more intelligent and smarter and all the good stuff. So that's why I can, you know, if there's anything I can do, and I've had people help me out. So all I can do is be thankful, you know, be thankful and offer that board if I can. That's really the only hospice I see, because other people aren't going to get it, and they're not going to be there. And then when shit hits the fan, they're going to be the ones raging. You know, they're going to be. It's everybody for themselves. It's going to be nasty. You know, women and children are fucked. Even, you know, if I was younger, I'd probably worry about my own back pussy, but I don't know, man. It's just, it's not going to be good. Not going to be, it's going to be scary as fuck. And everybody needs to have an exit plan so that when the time comes, you know, we have a joke that when you can order pizza, it's not time, right? We're stay alive. Don't do it yet.
He's
But
right.
If you order pizza, we haven't collapsed yet.
Yeah, have an exit plan and mitigate your suffering for you and your family. But that's the thing, is most people, their family won't grasp the reality, won't get it, and they won't take advantage of being allowing themselves to mitigate, because we live in a world where out of sight, out of mind. If I don't think about it, it won't happen. You know, keep trudging along. Those people are going to be the ones that are going to fight over the best cliff to jump off of. And I don't want to fucking jump off a cliff to begin with. That's the least. Like, if I could do that, I would have done that a long time ago. Because life has sucked a lot of times. And I said earlier, sometimes I go to work and I go, "That's a good bridge. I can just jump off that and get out of work for the day." What? It's just so frustrating. It is what it
We don't
is.
have to work. We're definitely not. We don't have to work that much longer.
I know.
We're going to see an ice-free Arctic in a handful of months, which I don't want to have happen, but I'm thinking it's going to be possible. And if we don't have it, you know, I'll throw a party and we can get blackout drunk and celebrate. But either way, if it does happen, I'll throw a party and we'll get blackout drunk and celebrate. Why not? But I'm gonna get more beer. But
Yeah, it's time for more
like,
beer.
I think just this last week I was talking about how much headlines are piling up and news is piling up and data satellite melt is piling up. And like, I'll show you the paper I have today. Excuse that there's like a Mexican food order on the bottom of it, but the rest of this page is like all of the data I had to write down.
That's the opium. You got the opium at the bottom.
There's the
stuff.
Mexican food, and then the economy. Like, there was so much information to compile from last Friday to today that we didn't even get to all of. But that's how it's going to be. I didn't get to everything last week. Like, it's just like you remember those game shows where they put you in a box and they shoot money up in the air, and you guys, it's like stuff all the climate headlines into your shirt while we have.
Oh my god, that's such a great analogy. Holy shit, man! I can just I'm gonna just see myself that way every time I log on now. I'm just be like,
That's what we're doing essentially
grab.
at NBL.
Dude.
We're just grasping for.
What a fuck show! What a fucking fuck show!
What a great. What did you say? Hattie suggested you leave on a quote, but like maybe change it every time or make it different.
Yeah, that would be cool.
What was your quote?
My quote was by John Donne. It's "No man is an island," and that essentially states that we're all interconnected and that what one person does affects another person, and we're all interconnected. And I think that really pertains
Yeah,
to
man.
what we've been talking about today, about how if one person does one thing, it affects another person. I think that was a big motif of today's conversation, a big symbol of today's conversation. So I don't know. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of a cool little, you know.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Do that
It's
and we
just
fade
like
out at the same time if you want.
it's just like one person that is not free. None of us are free, right? And then we
Which
fade.
was we were just talking about that last week.